Disney is a company that has endless problems these days, or at least it feels that way to most of us. All their movies are bombing. Bob Iger doesn't seem to really be able to fix the problems that he started many, many years ago. And then, of course, he retook the company back over from Bob Chapek. But right now, there was an article that came out from this tweet where somebody from Puck News talked to an executive at Disney who said that, you know, all of the box office failures, all of the things that are going wrong with the company, if you've got kids and you won't take them to see Disney movies, well, why is that? Well, it's not because the company's doing things wrong. It's because you're a bad person. That's what they're saying. So this is the actual thing that was said, not in the article, but the actual response. So he says, light feedback this holiday week, but I want to share a DM I got from a Disney executive in response to Thursday's column on whether the politicization of the Disney brand impacts box office. Quote, everyone says it's the movies, stupid, which is an easy thing for people to say. More appealing movies are a great way to jump the political issues, but more and more our audience, or a segment of the audience that has been politicized, equate the perceived messaging in a film as a quality issue. They won't say the film they find female empowerment distasteful in the Marvels or Star Wars, the latest trilogy starring Daisy Ridley, but they will say they don't like those movies because they are bad. So make better movies. So make better movies becomes code for make movies that conform to regressive gender stereotypes or put men in front and center of the narrative, yes, which is what you're seeing now and what Bob Iger's pivot is about right now. So they're saying that Bob Iger is going to pivot to men, basically, because it's not working. I find this funny because you'd think what they'd want is for people to be able to give you general criticism, because if they say that it is, if somebody was to actually come out and openly say it's because there's women in your movies, you'd call them sexist, because if there isn't a legitimate criticism, that actually is a sexist thing to say. If you can't actually levy a reasonable criticism for what it is. But now they don't even want you to say any criticism at all, because they're just going to assume what your motives for that criticism are.
Mine are going because I guess I'm a bigot. Like, I guess that's why I'm not going, because I haven't even attempted to see them on purpose because of that. Yes.
Do you let your kids watch like the older Disney movies?
Yes. Like what's the Swiss Family Robinson? They get down, they pray on the beach. It's like one of the first things. Like, yes, they're allowed to watch Pollyanna and things like that. And right now they're watching Leave It to Beaver. Fine.
That's not Disney.
Well, I know, but it's like old. I like them, let them watch all the old stuff. But yeah, I won't go to see any of that. And I guess if you want to call me a bigot for it, go ahead.
The thing is, it doesn't matter if anyone calls you a bigot, because they're probably making stuff up anyways. Like
that's my thing. Like, but your movies are bad, and people don't want to see this, and they're bad because these things are in there. Like, I don't know the cinema. Like, if the cinematography is bad, I do know that this stuff's in there, and I don't want to expose my children to it, so I won't watch it. Yeah. So he's not wrong, I don't think.
That's well, I mean,
except for that you're a bad person.
Yeah, you're not a bad person. You're not a bad person.
I think I'm a great person for not taking my kids to see that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how they can lay the blame on the people, because, for not coming to see things. Like, it's not like that's a reasonable thing. You can't tell your shareholders, look, here's the deal. I know you guys expect money, but everyone's an asshole. And if they weren't assholes, they would come to our movies. So we don't have any more money for you guys. Your stocks are losing, you're losing value or whatever, but it's not our fault. It's the people that, like, that doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Is there any other industry where you can do that?
No.
I literally can't think of any other industry other than Hollywood and in entertainment where you're allowed to just say, I'm not the problem. The people I'm trying to sell my product to are the problem.
But that's been happening all around, though, like in regular commerce anyway. If you go to like Macy's and you're like, hey, this like zipper's broken, like, on this like last shirt you want to buy, and they're like, oh, you're an a-hole for noticing. Like, it's been there. It's been like that in all types of customer service lately, because the people that are working the customer jobs they don't put the customer first, they put themselves first.
Yeah.
Like, we live in a very selfish society. So it's like, why are you asking?
Except Costco. Because Costco will let you return a couch after like 10 years.
It was longer than that, right?
Yeah.
It was like a 20-year-old couch, and they let it without a receipt. As I like, they mentioned, like, without a receipt, as if anybody expected a person returning like a 10-year-old couch to still have the receipt for it. Did you see that story?
No.
Yeah,
it was great. Not to derail, but
I've never been to a Costco.
No, that's
a great
an amazing story.
Yeah,
right? And they haven't lowered and they haven't changed the price.
I'm gonna go in with a jar of ash and be like, hey, this couch burnt down. Can I get a new one?
Well, one of you guys take me to Costco, because I've never been to one, and I don't want to get a membership, and like, if I don't like it.
I've never been. Are they the one with the $1.50 hot dog?
Yes.
Or is that
Yes.
Costco? Okay.
I was gonna say that this is like, I mean, clear as day to me, this is very diabolical. Because it's like what Phil said earlier about people putting the Palestinian flag over Amy Winehouse's Star of David because they want to be liked. So what Disney essentially is doing is, instead of changing their movies and making their movies better, they are going to make people think that they are bad people if they don't like their movies. So now you are under social pressure to be like, oh yeah, no, I loved that movie. Because if you say you didn't like it, like if you didn't like, what's a Disney movie? I don't watch any Disney movies. I mean, Barbie.
Beauty and the Beast.
What's like a recent Disney movie?
Like a recent, like they made the
Beauty and the Beast
remake.
was feminist too, but
the Little Mermaid.
The Little Mermaid. Okay, if you didn't like The Little Mermaid, you hate women, specifically black women.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it's definitely very diabolical. It's not as innocent as they're making it out to be.
You're right. But this stuff is also this is a situation where politics has again infiltrated into society and become a problem, right? Like, is that thunder?
Yes.
Wow.
Second time too. It scared me the first time.
Yes.
Like the whole like everyone's a Nazi. Like initially it was like that stuff was really saved for actual Nazis,
right?
And politicians didn't like. It was normal.
But it worked.
It was normal to call George Bush a Nazi. It was normal to call Ronald Reagan a Nazi. It was normal to call Bush a Nazi.
Or a commie before that.
Well, I don't know about commies. I'm thinking about because in the 80s and 90s and aughts, I don't feel like commie. There wasn't a lot of people that were worried about commies when it came to Republicans. Maybe Democrats, there you might get that, but like it was normal to hear that in politics, but it wasn't normal for like a random person to be like, oh yeah, I like Elon Musk. Oh, you're a Nazi. Like that nobody would have ever thought, I don't watch Disney movies because I worry about my kids. No one would ever respond with, well, you must be a Nazi because you don't let your kids watch Disney stuff.
And it ties back into controlling the language. They've desensitized us to that word completely.
The other thing that I thought was funny about it was mentioning regressive gender stereotypes. What they've done now is they've really taken this idea of needing to subvert expectations so far that you can't do anything that you would normally do if you were a woman or a man, right? So like if a woman in a movie has a husband and stays at home and raises her kids, they can't show that anymore. They have to show them subverting expectations, which means the man stays home, or the man is the one who makes his wife dinner when she comes home. I remember I was watching a show called Special Ops Lioness. It's a Taylor Sheridan show, oddly enough, but it had that at the very beginning, and it just felt like showing it in the first 10 minutes was heavy-handed. Like they could have waited to do this because she's the military. She was the one in the military, and he's the one who stays at home with the kids. But the point is, like with Disney, it's like when people actually see things that show them the real world, they actually like it now because they get so little of that. When you actually see a movie where men act like men and women act like women, you're like, wow, the rest of I think for a lot of it's like, wow, the rest of the world hasn't changed. Right? The world isn't nuts. Like we can actually see those things. And so when you see it reflected back, you're like, wow, I'm not losing my mind. You're being gaslit on a daily basis to be told that these things aren't normal.
Yeah, my mom calls me like once a month at least, and she complains about like commercials all the time. She was like, they're always making all these men look stupid, and like especially white men. She's like, everybody else is smarter or whatever than like these, than like white men. And she like literally gets angry about it. But I think that people are really getting tired of that, and when they put other things out, there's more of a positive response to it. So I do think that will shift back a little bit.
But the problem is when that does well, they'll say that's because you're reinforcing white supremacy or racism. But
do we even care anymore? I think that's the thing. Like people stop caring. I haven't like cared about people calling me a racist in so long.
So I see people making the joke like where someone's like, where the memes where it's like all my friends are racist. All my friends are racist and sexist and stuff like, and it's like that's something that people are saying, and people are becoming more comfortable with it. That is going to be a reality. We are going to end up, and I was yelling and screaming about this a decade ago when intersectionality first started coming out, and you started hearing people talking in normal conversation about like about white privilege and stuff like that. I was like, you're going to end up making America more racist. People are going to stop caring that you're calling them racist. They're just going to say whatever. And then you're going to end up with a more actual real racist.
There's a $20 super chat here from Mikey. Says they've been blaming the fans for actively not liking their stuff since The Force Awakens. That is true.
It's true.
How dare you not like what we've made? Also, the other thing that they're ignoring is the ridiculous budgets that movies cost to make now, which is like $250 to $300 million, which sadly would have gone farther a decade ago, but still
Inflation.
Inflation through the roof and stuff like that. When you spend $300 million to make a movie and you split half of that half of the money with the theaters, it means you have to make like close to $1 billion just to break even. And I always laugh. They're like, it's not a failure. It made money. I'm like, nobody invests $300 million, $450 million with marketing to make $10 million.
Do you know, besides you, I mean, I know that like this is part of what you guys do, but do you guys actively go to the movies? I told you here, I think before, I haven't been in the movies in like 15 years.
Well, we go to the movies.
I don't know anybody that does.
I enjoy it. I like to what we were talking about earlier about short form and long form content. I like it because it forces me to pay attention to
that makes sense.
me. And I like the experience as a whole.
Movie theaters are bougie now.
Yeah.
I didn't go to the theaters for the longest time, but I've gone to the movies a couple times with you guys, you and Mary.
Isn't it expensive?
Yes.
Is it?
Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna eat food and stuff, it definitely.
Yeah. I guess for the whole experience. Yeah. But everywhere you go now, there's reclining chairs, there's heated chairs, there's some movie theaters where they'll even bring you your food.
They have that in Vermont. They bring you alcoholic drinks and stuff.
We had a place when I was growing up called the Cinema Cafe where like the tickets were like $2, but then the food was like you could order a pizza and like you sat at like tables.
Oh, I've been to a theater like that once.
Yeah, and that was freaking great. Now you can get a pizza and you sit in a reclining chair, and it's like, and to me, like as somebody who has such a hard time paying attention to stuff, like my short attention span is like probably one of my bigger flaws. So like being able to force to pay attention to what I'm doing, because also like I have to like sit in the back right chair all the time because we have to take when we do the reviews. I have to have notes for what I'm doing, so I have to have my
your screen
phone,
to be glowing.
Yeah, so I have to have my phone like on zero dim, zero visibility, so I'm like writing and stuff like that as we're going. So it forces me to pay attention. When we were at Madame Web, I thought I was slowly losing my mind because the movie was so bad, and as the notes were getting more unhinged as I was writing them. I think one day I might like actually publish like all of because my shorthand is ridiculous, so I might actually publish the notes for the various movies that I've done. I was like, this line, what the fuck? Question mark, exclamation mark. Depending on how angry I am, it like more exclamation marks means I was more weirded out or more upset by it and stuff like that.
There's a scale.
But like in general, for most of these things, I just can't imagine any other industry where you get to actively blame the fans, but because they make most of their money through not venture capital, but through various types of investment now, and whether you want to talk about DEI policies or you want to talk about stakeholder capitalism, it's like there's not really an incentive to actually make movies that people want because they put the politics and the message first. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing: like one of the things I like doing, and I know that this is kind of it makes you a pushover. I like when I go to a movie where I'm expecting to hate it, or even if it's actors that I don't like, I like going to see a movie where I might not like that person and seeing them do their job well. I do. Mm-hmm. I like that. Like we went and saw a Hunger Games movie with Rachel Zegler, who'd been trashing because she's an annoying person for months. And I thought the movie was fine, and I thought she did her job well, and I said that in the segment. And I want to give you the benefit of the doubt, and I think most people do too. I don't think it actually takes that much to win people back. I think for the most part, most people just want to like things and be entertained. So it's like when The Mandalorian came out. You're a Star Wars fan, and they lost a lot of love when they made The Force Awakens, and then when they made The Last Jedi.
Last Jedi was real bad.
And then there was ambivalence to the movie after that. But then when they did the Mandalorian, they won a lot of people back right away. They've lost it since then.
You can get people back if you produce a good product, but it has to be a good product. And the more subpar products you produce, the better the one has to be to get them back. So if you've got like your hopes on one to get them back, it has to be like a real grand slam if you put out like 3 stinkers,
Yeah, and that's also like how many bad movies in a row can you make before people fall? And then somebody actually points that out in the article. He says, look, I've repeatedly argued that Disney's problems are less related to the actual product or politics than it is the fact that they've trained families to stay home to watch their movies, meaning like watch them on Disney Plus, which is just there's no money to be made in that because you pay your $9.99 or it's more than that, it's like $17.99 once a month, but that's not how you make your money. You make your money by getting multiple people out to the theaters to invest in it every time they go. So it's sad, but that's the world we live in now, where even Disney, a company the size of Disney, probably will run the risk of one day having to be sold. And I really do think we're kind of marching forward to a reality where everything is owned by Apple and Amazon. and all your entertainment will be made by Apple and Amazon, and you're going to get nothing but Jeff Bezos approved films from now on. Which
That would be awful.
Wouldn't it though? Like,
Yes.
I wonder what kind of movies he watches. I wonder what you.
I want to go back to like
lizard
BBC
movies.
masterpiece theater movies, like good.
Oh yeah, you're the one with BritBox, right?
I have BritBox.
What
is
and I
that?
have-
Oh, British
BritBox is
streaming
good.
service.
Like Shakespeare and
They have
What kind
like
of stuff do
they
they
have
have?
masterpiece. And MGM Plus has like some masterpiece theater stuff too.
that
Why?
makes you literally the only person. Tell me you don't have MGM Plus.
I do.
Oh my God.
Why? It has all the old stuff on it.
That is okay. So here's my problem. First of all, I didn't know this was a thing. I didn't know there was actually a human being who actually owned MGM Plus. I just feel like since Amazon bought MGM, they should just put it all on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
That's-
Well, it is on Amazon Prime, but then you have to pay extra on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, but it should just all be on Amazon Prime because it's owned by Amazon now.
But they have good stuff on there. Like really old.
What do you watch?
I watch like anything that's like period dated.
Yeah.
Like they have like these little sagas. Like so, this is what I do. I read a lot of like Victorian literature. So I'll read the book, and then I'm like, oh, I kind of want more of that. So then I'll go find the adaptation, and they have like these like series. Like I think Wuthering Heights with Tom Hardy was on there,
Okay.
and like they have like that kind of stuff. Like I like things that are classic. I like classic literature, and then I like that turned into a series or a movie.
I love they have some of the greatest detective dramas and stuff like that. They're really good.
Scarlet was kinda good, but
so they had like a series called like Doc Martin, which is about it. Like there's a lot of really good. Shetland is.
I
a
only
really
do
good
like
series.
1910 and earlier.
Okay, yeah, no, like
It needs to be like old.
To me, like the stuff that came out, like Doc Brown, like there are a lot of these shows that were like in the 80s and
I
the
see
90s.
Doc Brown, but I don't ever watch it.
And what I love about it is like if you can find the unmastered editions, I like it when they don't remaster it, so you actually see it as it was kind of aired the first time.
BritBox has a lot of
and
that.
it's kind of like it's like hazy and it's not really super in focus because they haven't fixed it, and I actually like it better that way.
And the acting's different too, and the
Exactly.
music's different. Like they put all this like extra like I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah, like-
instrumental music behind it. Yes, yeah, I
I
agree.
love that, and it's like everything's gray because everything's gray in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
See, like, but it had character, and it was perfect for what it was. And
I agree.
It's kind of a soul that you don't really get from most of this stuff now.
Yeah, that's why I stick to it. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.